Hello G team, this is our GEMaPTUTE number 1, focusing on the new standards elaborations that are in the Australian Curriculum Geography, Peter 10, and how we are going to use those standards from now on in order to assign levels of achievement to our students. So first of all, just to remind you that our standards need to be task specific so that we can use them to match evidence of learning in our students' responses. We use our standards elaborations as a focal point for discussing student responses with the students and with teachers and parents. And also it's a useful tool to provide feedback to students so that they know why and how they received the result that they did. So there's nothing new there, everything's still the same, except that the language has changed. In this instance, standards elaborations, the old term was criteria. So if we are using the term criteria, then I know that you mean standards elaborations and vice versa. So you would have all seen at least a draft sample of standards elaborations, and this one I've taken from the Year 8 short response test just so that I can use it as an example to go through with you, to show you how it compares to our former criteria sheets and how we use these to assess our students and decide on their levels of achievement. So first of all, you'll see that our dimensions down the left hand side are knowledge and understanding, questioning and researching, interpreting and analysing, and communicating. Because this is a task-specific criteria sheet, sometimes some of these dimensions aren't tested in some of these tasks. And if that's the case, then you'll see that I have made that quite clear, that this dimension is not being assessed in this particular assessment item. What you will be familiar with is the awarding of results from A through to E. And this is really what we're going to go on with next. How do we assign those grades or those results in line with demonstrations that our students are showing in their work? So let's have a look at what we are used to doing. Let's just focus on this C range here. Now, the dimension is knowledge and understanding, and within that dimension we have some indicators. There are 3 of them here. Now, when you are assessing students, you may do this. You might put a tick toward the top of the C range and a couple in the middle, and because you've got a couple in the middle here and one right at the top, you determine that this is roughly a C+, because it's not a flat C. It's a little bit better than that, so you're going to call it a C+. So let's look at the example in the next column in the B range. We've got a couple of our ticks at the far right of the B column, or the lower end, and we have one in the middle. So because we've got a couple of ticks at the lower end, we're used to saying that this is a B-. But unfortunately we have to stop doing this, because that is not how the syllabus interprets the assigning of levels of achievement, and in fact nowhere in any former or current syllabus does it actually say that placing ticks at the bottom, at the middle, or at the top of a level determines whether they are a minus, a neutral, or a plus result. We need to stop doing this. Let me show you what we have to start doing. Okay, in this example you see that this student for knowledge and understanding has a couple of ticks in the C range, indicating that it has C qualities. But you think that really for one of these performance indicators it's better than a C. So the tick goes up into the B range. Only then can you say that it is a C+. Alright? If all the ticks were in the C range, it would have to be a C. Full stop. You've got 2 ticks in the C range and the student's work shows some evidence of it being a little bit B-ish. Okay? Therefore, under those conditions, you can call this a C+. Alternatively, if you think that the student's work is a C but kind of only just, and you think it's worthy of a C-, in that case, you need to actually make a decision about where in this D range one of those ticks needs to be. Because it can't be a C- if you don't have a tick outside of C down towards the D. I'll give you another example. We have 2 ticks here clearly in the B range. Your feeling is that the student is demonstrating at a B- level. You can't simply place a tick at the bottom of the B column. If you believe that there is some doubt about being a solid B, you have to show that by indicating that there is an element of C-ishness about that student's work. You need to decide where that C-ishness creeps in and place the tick appropriately in the C range. So in this case, B- can only be awarded if there are B's in the B column and an element of C-ishness. B, you'd have all the ticks in B. If you want to award a B+, you simply cannot have a tick at the top of the B column. You have to show that this person is better than a B and is heading toward the A-ishness range. So there has to be a tick somewhere up here in the A's. Okay, so let's look at the E's. As you can see, there's nothing less than the E column. Let's look at the A's. There's nothing greater than the A column. So theoretically, E- does not exist and A+ does not exist. Okay? From now on, there won't be any E-. There can't be, because there's nowhere else to go. There's no F. Okay? So if you have 3 ticks in the E column, it's an E. If you think it's a little bit better than an E, could be an E+, then there has to be some D-ishness about the student's work, and there must be a tick up in the D range. Okay? Now, I'm going to make an executive decision here and suggest that we still have A+. Because without a doubt there are some students who are performing beyond the standard of their year level. Okay, so remember, this is student work at a year 8 level. If you've got some little bright bunny in your class who is blowing you out of the water because his work is clearly superior to a Year 8, we need to acknowledge that and we need to reward that person. So yes, we're going to have an A+. Okay? If that is the case, I would like to see you put the tick just a little bit out of the A box to show that it's actually off the scale. Okay? We're not going to penalise our E students any more than we need to. The difference between an E and an E- is negligible. Let's just call it an E and be done with it. We don't need to squash this kid right into the dirt. But conversely, we do need to acknowledge that there are students who are performing way above everyone's expectations, and so we will continue with A+. So, just to finish off then, giving out pluses and minuses is not determined within a standard. So you cannot simply have a tick at the top of the level or one at the bottom and calling that a plus or a minus. Our pluses and minuses are determined by going across the standards. In the case of a C student, if you think that student is a C+, then there has to be a tick somewhere up here in the B range. If you think that student is a C-, then there has to be an indication of performing at below C, back here in the D range. Okay? That is how we will be using our standards elaborations. That is how we will be awarding students their levels of achievement. So if you need any further clarification on any of this, please ask me face-to-face or in an email or send me a text. I will be happy to take you through this personally, or more personally than what I've done now, and hopefully we can start to shift our mindset and be a little bit more in alignment with what the spirit of the syllabus actually is.